Everybody, it is July 16th, 2025, and I'm here with your nightly watch list video. Where do we start? Quantum stocks, they cured cancer today. Kidding. More so Rigetti on some news. Absolutely insane push. 200 million shares. That's kind of nutty. And, when you kind of look in this base, all of the biggest bars, they're all accumulation bars, right? All of the biggest volume bars, they're all bright green. You had this flat pivot. It took it out today. It does, have a gap to fill, 1756. I'd be hard pressed to tell you that, all of these quantum stocks look terrible, because the reality is that these things are holding up pretty dang well. QUBT is just building a series of higher lows in here. And, I don't know what to say other than, it's speculative money is flying around. Congratulations to those of you guys who took Archer past few days. Really nice push out today. I felt like it was going to play some catch up with Joby, and Joby is starting to go a little bit vertical here. I don't know what's going to happen, with this one. As we're, nice move up, gap up, nice move up, gap up, nice move up. Do we just gap up again tomorrow morning, push a little bit in the morning, and then have a first red day / digestion for the next few weeks? Honestly, it would be the most healthy thing that could happen. Pretty fantastic move, 10 times its average true range from the 50. I don't really know what to make of this action other than it is pretty damn awesome in terms of small and mid caps. Like I said, QUBT doesn't look all that terrible. QBTS, the worst of the bunch, doesn't look that terrible. So, it is what it is. Take it at face value. Some things are just absolutely rocketing out there. And, if you can find yourself a way to get yourself into these smaller, more speculative names, whether it's quantum or drones or robotics or these like something like an OUST, just very, very quietly been an absolute monster. Once it came back into the 20, would not lose the 20. Continuation from there. These things have been really nice. SERV woke up today, just superb action, nice pickup in volume. What was it? TSSI is another one. Does this thing start to turn up? This thing's also had a really big move. Won't be too surprised if, and this has been fair, like no volume on the way down. Do these things start to get find support on their rising 50 and start to turn back up? That's kind of my guess right now with how strong things are. Yes, things are a little bit choppy, so it just is what it is. But aerospace and defense is acting insane. Rocket Lab, another high, incredible. ASTS is, doing fantastic. KTOS today was a absolute rocket, no pun intended. DRS still hangs out really, really well. So really just super clean action in, leading sectors. Aerospace and defense is definitely one of those. It's littered with stocks that are doing well. So I don't see a reason to be super negative other than maybe things are a bit extended and it's been a little bit choppy getting yourself into stuff. Nuclear names continue to be awesome. SMR, even, you type in random letters, SRM, apparently that one's doing well too. But SMR, new highs here. Looks fantastic. Clean downtrend line break on Friday. Really, really nice continuation from there. Oklo, obviously, midday, kind of choppy, forced me out of a third of my position, but that is okay. Really nice pickup there. And does this thing maybe stay put for a day, kind of hang out underneath this pivot, and give us some ads going forward? I have no idea, but we will be on watch for some potential ads on Oklo going forward. With that said, I just kind of want to jump into the watch list today. There's not a ton, that I can really cherry pick on. There's still quite a few setups. Let me pull up my watch list here. There's still quite a few names that I'm interested in, and just a few names that I will just kind of keep back in mind, on watch, and we'll see. We'll just take it one day at a time. So Tesla, I guess we can go ahead and talk about Tesla first. If this thing can get going through its 50 simple moving average tomorrow, I'm not convinced that a bull market is anywhere close to ending without Tesla going on some pretty dang massive run. And by massive run, I mean probably back to this 400, 500 plus dollar level for something like Tesla. And if we can get reclaiming this 50 simple moving average, maybe a slight little morning pullback, and then a move through 323 and the 50 simple moving average, which right now is 322.07, I would definitely be interested in trying to get myself involved with a starter on Tesla. You're above the 200, above the 50. You had this little gap down being bought up every single day. Look at the volume that keeps coming into this very, very small red bars, aka no more selling. You had this huge of what felt like capitulation. You had like this small little bull flag that failed, and then ever since then you're trying to reclaim and rally back through the 200, rally back through the 50. You guys know how well Tesla can move when it starts to move. Not going to take this thing off my radar if we can get going back over the 50 simple moving average tomorrow. Also, not taking my eyes off of ANET. I still don't see a clean setup here, but if this tightens up and builds out a cleaner base, I would be more interested in ANET. Toast. I don't know who the hell picked this thing up in after hours, but of course this thing went in at 46 bucks. If this thing can hang out over 45.15, I would be interested in it. Into tomorrow, obviously it closed at 45.14, coincidentally enough, and got picked up a little bit in after hours, like I said, even though the futures markets are kind of down, just a hair, which I personally prefer. I'd rather not chase gap ups right now. You're just looking for, the markets to open up a little bit weak and then show strength. Morning and midday is normally the best recipe for a clean breakout. IBIT, we're dealing with a little bit of volatility right now in the crypto space. Nothing wrong, right? You're just down one small percent, but you are effectively breaking intraday lows. So, a pretty volatile. Like I said, it's like you're closing well, but then you're kind of rolling over a little bit in after hours. Nothing wrong with it. Daily looks perfectly fine. Bounced right off the 5 simple moving average. Ethereum is looking like it's a little bit stronger recently, which is awesome to see. These Ethereum treasury holding names are kind of going ballistic right now, looking no further than your SBET. So again, I don't know what's going to happen with momentum, considering some names like Joby, which we looked at, some names like QS are getting a little bit ahead of themselves. I am still looking, maybe if we get a bit of a gap up or push towards 12 bucks tomorrow, maybe QS can be played back for a fade. But yeah, there's just kind of a lot going on in the market right now. Still not taking my eyes off of Google. Still super choppy. Checkbacks into ascending moving averages, always worth an eye. At this point, I don't really know if these are the kind of names I would prefer to be playing. At this point, it seems like small and mid-cap thematic names are much better. So avoiding kind of the big stocks, right? I look at it, NVIDIA, it's already made a humongous move, kind of thinking about more themes. Again, whether it's quantum, whether it's drones, whether it's robotics, whether it's AI data center, crypto, you name it. I forget who said it on X. I think it was Leaf. He just said, smoothing out your frontal lobe and just go ahead and trade them, right? Don't try to overthink it. These names are super strong right now, and that's just, it is what it is. AAOI, another one I'm not taking off my radar. You had this dip basically right into the 20 and then just bought up. And for anybody looking for a 620 as an example, so you get this pullback, right? You get this pullback right into as close as possible to the 20, which is 25.90, and then the stock begins to go up, right? And then just like a smaller time frame or a bigger time frame, right? You look for your move up, you get a move sideways, your EMAs cross back up, and then you also get VWAP. Right here is a pretty good entry right there, right? So call it 2740, 2750 with about $1.20 stop on this super fast 1080R mover. So of course, always size these things properly. But then what does it do? It goes on to close pretty dang well And that's kind of the action you really want to see from when you buy a 620 setup, for anybody wondering how those can play out. Still not taking AOI off the radar. Love what this thing has done. Love the pickup in volume. It's starting to establish itself back above the 200 simple moving average. This thing has shown you in the past that it can make absolutely monster moves. So gonna go ahead and leave AOI on watch going forward. CCL, don't hate what this thing is doing at all. It's made a really nice move. We are digesting, I mean, picture perfect, right up against this left side peak. No real volume coming in here in terms of the sell side. The longer we can digest, the better. Would be completely interested in adding some more CCL, as a new position. If as long as we can tighten up, closer to this 50 simple moving average, we're still just a touch extended. So the more sideways for me, the better. AGX, this just kind of an odd one, right? You've got this a beautiful hold off the 50 simple moving average. You're just digesting here well. Again, not really a pickup in volume on the downside, but again, a little bit volatile. I still think it looks pretty dang good, but has to go ahead and take out 226.70. Circle was the miss today, absolutely. 204, and the inside day was definitely the spot, 203.50. And today this was just an all-day trender. This one kind of foretold that the Genius bill was potentially going to be passed. And you had really nice action in this one. You had really nice action in MSTR and Coin today. So congratulations to the holders of Circle. If you ever get a move like this and you peel a little bit into strength, I don't ever think there's anything wrong with taking off a little bit off the table once you catch a, almost 20% intraday move. So nice job to all the holders of Circle. Shopify, you guys know how long I've been watching this one. I tried this one back on 6/11. Here we are a month and a week later, and of course you're out past those highs. Who the hell would have expected, this thing to just shoot off today, right off the 20. Super, super annoying that I'm not in this thing. It's just been chopping around, making itself impossible to own. But we are so close to this 52-week high. I mean, less than 10%. I won't be too surprised if we can get there pretty quickly. Any pullbacks again into the rising 20 feel viable. Every time this thing has retraced to the 20, it's been bought right back up. So there's definitely a buyer in the tape. They're not going away. And, for that reason, I'm leaving it on watch. AppLovin, very clean little base here, right? You got this perfect 360. Over 360 with power, good. Below 360, leave it alone. Just that simple. Alibaba needs to clear the 50 simple moving average. It's the only reason why I'm not going to buy it just yet. It has to clear, ideally can create this little shelf here, and can get going over the 50 simple moving average. Eventually it'll be like 118 bucks roughly that it needs to get going with power for me to be interested in it going forward. SE, another stock here. I thought it had this little nice shelf. Yes, it got back over, closed, a little weak, but nothing crazy. I don't think anything's broken with it at all. Nice job getting back over the 50 simple on a pickup in volume, and then nice job following through today on a bigger pickup in volume. Again, it could be a little bit volatile tomorrow. We could just get a down day. We could retrace most of, today's bounce. I have no clue. I've been pretty reserved on how many new buys I've been doing recently, and I haven't been plowing into a bunch of stuff. So, just kind of trying to take it one setup at a time and see if I can get myself, repositioned in the market. And, right now it's been like I said, a little bit volatile. Not tons of day 2 and 3 follow through for me. So, it just is what it is. And again, it's not for a lack of not putting together a watch list, and it's just a bit of choppiness out there for me. So, not getting discouraged, just going to continue to do my job and try to find the best setups that I can find, and try to get repositioned as I've been trying to do for a few weeks now. UAL, yes, volatile in after hours with earnings. We'll keep this thing on watch. This does look like a pretty clean little bull flag, and I know it just posted earnings today. If we can go ahead and start taking 89.65, if we can start taking that level out, I might be pretty interested in this as a potential breakout setup. I know we are closing kind of, near today's lows of the range, but if this thing can hang in there tomorrow morning and then start to push out, I would definitely be interested in it. But other than that, you know, some names are just far too extended, like an Nvidia. I think this is far too extended to do anything with it. Yes, it's trending, but there's really nothing I can do with it. So, not going to try to force my way into the semiconductor sector. ASML, came right down into the 200. I don't remember. I think it was Justin Trade and Fade in the room who bought this as a 620 setup right off of the 200 simple moving average. Absolutely beautiful setup. Basically, right in here, two or 738, 739, effectively back through VWAP, 620 setup with the risk at low of days. So really nice job getting themselves repositioned in this thing. Huge pickup in volume, but obviously has gone nowhere for the last several months. And it just is what it is with this one. But still tons of merchandise out there. Still lots of stocks acting well. So not being getting too discouraged. Just trying to let things work. I still have along in ARC, which just saw a new high today, which is awesome. I still have CCL not doing anything wrong. I still have IBIT acting fantastic, and I have Oklo. So pretty happy about those names. But obviously, I wish I had a few more, and maybe tomorrow could be a day to add Tesla. While the market was acting poor today, Tesla was showing tons of relative strength. So that is a big positive, and I would love to see that name finally wake up back above the 50 simple moving average. Above the 50 simple is usually the start of a buy, kind of like a buy cycle, and then below the 50 is a sell cycle. And I don't want to argue with that too much. So anyway, guys, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow. Cheers.